Hey, everybody, welcome back to our devotional thought for this week. I want us to spend just a brief moment here in the book of Exodus today, in chapter 14 and in verse 15. Very familiar story here that we all know about. The people of Israel have been in captivity in Egypt for a long time. Through Moses' work, through all the plagues that God sent to them, Pharaoh finally relented and let the people of Israel go back to their homeland. And so they've just left Egypt and they're heading out across the desert. And we all know that Pharaoh regretted that he had let them go, and so he began to pursue them and to try to bring them back. And so at this point in this narrative, what we find is that the people of Israel, right before the Red Sea, Pharaoh's behind them, there's mountains all around them, and they're just in a really tight spot and they really don't know what to do. And so that's kind of the thought here, and that is when we're unsure about what to do next, we just take the next right step. I have a friend, his name is Kurt Candler. He's the founder and CEO of 410 Bridge. It's an organization that we here at Cedar Crest partner with to do some work in Kenya. And if you were to meet Kurt and spend any time with him at all, one of the things that he's going to say invariably is that, well, what is the next right thing? That's something for him that's been kind of a motto for him for a long time. And that is, when unsure about what to do next, just do the next right thing. And so that's kind of where the people of Israel are at this time. And we find this particular verse in verse 15 of chapter 14. And that is that God spoke to Moses and said, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward." One simple statement. So they're on the banks of the Red Sea. They can't see across. They don't have binoculars. They don't know what's on the other side. They know what's behind them, though. They know what's around them. And God gave Moses a very simple plan. Just tell the people to go forward. And we don't have any idea how this happened, whether when they started, the waters parted. When they stepped into the water, did the waters part? Did they part all at one time, or did they part as they went across? We just don't know the answer to that question, but we do know that they had to trust God every step of the way. And so regardless, we know that from the record of Scripture, from the record of even our own lives, if we kind of go back and think about it, that God leads His children step by step, and He provides for us day by day and cares for us moment by moment. We know that in Nehemiah, he talked about the fact that the people of Israel were led by this pillar, this cloud and this pillar of fire every single day. The Psalms talk a lot about the fact that day by day God pours out His love on us, that our strength is renewed day by day. Luke talks about, give us this day our daily bread. So when we're not absolutely confident what the future next steps are, we have to earnestly seek God's voice about what the next right step is. Not 5 steps down the road, but what the next step is. And while we'll never be absolutely sure what's going to happen year to year, or month to month, or week to week, maybe even tomorrow in some instances, many times the very next step is quite obvious to us. So we just have to determine whether or not we're going to have enough faith in God to take that next right step. One of the founders of Johns Hopkins, a Canadian physician by the name of William Osler, made this statement. He said, "Trust God for guidance in small increments, and if you can't see what lies dimly in the distance, do what clearly lies in front of you." Another story, missionary lady in the many years ago, Isabel Kuhn was her name. She was a missionary to China, and when the communists took over in China and they expelled all of the missionaries, many times they threw those missionaries in prison. And when she found out what was going on, she immediately fled across the line into northern Burma at that time. It's the country of Myanmar now. And here's what she said. She said, "I was stranded around the world with no money and no way to get home. I cannot tell you the confusion and fear that filled me. And so she made two decisions that she writes in her memoirs. The first was to cast out fear. She said, fear is sent by Satan to confuse us and to weaken us. She said, Jesus told his disciples not to be afraid, and so I determined to cast out fear. Secondly, she said she asked for light for the next right step. She had no idea how she was going to get out of Asia, but she asked God to provide for her food and funds just for that day. And ultimately, she was able to get to a city where she could make contact with her people here in the United States, and she was ultimately able to arrive back safe at home by trusting in God in small increments and small amounts of time. So for the people of Israel, at this moment when they had lots of confusion and the Red Sea is before them, the people of God just did the next right thing. They just obeyed and they began to walk, and we know that the sea divided and they went across on dry land, this highway of hope, but they did that one step at a time. So we can't doubt in the darkness what God has shown us in the light. We can't collapse in the face of adversity. Following God's will it isn't a matter of unveiling where the curtain goes back and everything is revealed to us in a moment of time. It's an unfolding of a layer, one at a time. The one who knows the faraway future reveals what is up close and what the next up close step for us is. What about us today? Me talking about this, you that's listening to this, what about each one of us? What has God laid upon our hearts to do, but that maybe fear of the unknown is paralyzing you from doing what you know that you should be doing as the next step of obedience? Are you in the middle of a difficult circumstance yourself and don't know what to do? Have you asked God to reveal the entire solution to you, or have you asked him to reveal to you just the next right step? I don't have to have all the details, God, but would you just tell me what I need to do for today, just the next right step? So we've got two extremes to avoid as we travel on this journey of life. One is to react impulsively out of fear to anything that we don't know about. The other is to refuse to move even when God shows the way. I have to confess to you, I'm by nature, I'm just a control person. I want to know what's coming in advance, and I'd really prefer to have like 3 options when that situation comes, so that I can have a contingency plan just in case the first one doesn't work out. I'm just being honest. That's the way that I am. I really don't like surprises, and I like to know what's coming and what my options are just in case something goes wrong. So if I know those kind of things, I'm all in. But sometimes I have a tendency to be hesitant in those situations where I don't know all of those circumstances, and that's just something that I have to work at and I have to deal with all of the time. And so, are you like me, that you struggle when you're not in control, or are you different in the fact that it's okay and you don't have to know all of the details? Do you have a tendency to hesitate even when you have clearly heard from God? Are you even in the middle of one of these kind of Red Sea instances right now in your life? So for you, if you're there, what is that next right step of faith? And if you're even a control person like me, what is that next right step for you, even if you don't get all the contingency plans? So just a thought today, in those difficult times, sometimes we're like the children of Israel. And Moses just said, tell the children of Israel to move forward. That's what we need to do as well, the next right step of faith. Hope this has been helpful to you. If we can be of service to you in any way here at Cedar Crest, we'd love to have the opportunity to do that. Reach out to us in our email or on our website at www.ccbchurch.org. Be happy to help in any way that we can. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you again soon.